The drag anchor bites ocean floor at 0347 hours. No warning, just steel scraping through mud and fiber optic glass 180 FT below. January 24, 2026. Waters 40 nautical miles southeast of Okinawa. The Chinese Type 055 destroyer Lhasa Hull 102 performs what its crew will later call an emergency stop directly over the Guam, Japan, South Korea fiber route. In Guam, monitoring stations watch connections collapse. Voice channels die first, then data streams, then encrypted military traffic. 90 seconds and 3 countries lose their primary communication backbone. The 48-hour blackout begins. A Philippine fishing vessel confirms what satellites can't see underwater. The Losses anchor drags northeast. Music churning, a sediment plume visible from the surface. Not dropping, dragging. The water above turns brown with disturbed seafloor. 22 minutes pass. A Japanese Maritime Self-Defense Force P-1 patrol aircraft cuts through morning cloud cover. The crew photographs what shouldn't be there. Anchor chain angled at 40 degrees. Not the vertical deployment of a legitimate stop. The destroyer's crew moves on deck, but no one's working the winch. No one's correcting the problem. Lhasa continues its slow crawl. 8 more minutes. The fiber strand parts somewhere. Music in the darkness below. $127 million of infrastructure severed in the time it takes to brew coffee. Then the warship releases its anchor. The U.S. Coast Guard cutter Stratton diverts from its patrol route, slicing through fore-aft swells. Her captain receives the alert at 04:18 hours. Communication blackout across 3 allied nations. Military networks scrambling to satellite backup. Fiber optic specialists estimate 2 full days before emergency music systems reach full capacity. Something's cut the line, and there's a Chinese destroyer sitting right over the damage. By 04:30, Stratton closes to within visual range. Her captain raises binoculars. The Grey Hull sits, motionless. Crew visible on deck. No repair attempts. No distress signals. No acknowledgement music of radio calls. Just presence. The P-1 makes another pass lower this time. Camera pods track both vessels. The destroyer idle. The Coast Guard cutter bearing down from the west. Swells lift Losses bow. The hull settles. Engine silent. Music like it's waiting. Stratton's radio operator tries again. Hailing frequencies. Emergency channels. Standard maritime protocols. Static answers. The destroyer's communication arrays are clearly functional. They're just choosing not to respond. The distance between vessels shrinks to 5 music nautical miles. 4. The cutter's crew secures gear, knowing what might come next. At 05:12 music hours, Losses engines rumble to life. Not toward port, but directly toward music the American cutter, closing from the west. The Gray Predator accelerates, not evasion. Intercept music course. 05:15 hours. Stratton's crew goes to stations. Deck crew lashing down everything that can shift. The Type 055 bears down on them, throwing a bow wake that wasn't there 30 seconds ago. The P-1 overhead circles lower. Camera pods capture both vessels converging. Distance collapses from 3 mi to half that in 6 minutes. The destroyer's not running exercises. This is deliberate. Hull 102 cuts through swells with the kind of speed that makes smaller vessels nervous. At 2,000 YD, Stratton cuts hard to port. The warship matches the turn, staying locked on approach vector. Sea churns white between the hulls. The gap evaporates. 1/500 YD, 1/200. Close enough now to read hull numbers through binoculars to count the figures lining the destroyer's rail. No weapons visible, just personnel watching, just maintaining course. Music 1,000 watt-read. The P-1 pilot radios warning to both vessels. Lhasa doesn't acknowledge, doesn't alter heading, just presses forward. Stratton's captain calculates. Angles. The destroyer's current track will bring them within 800 YD, close enough for wake turbulence to become a hazard. He orders his helmsman to music increase separation. The cutter turns harder to starboard. Turbines scream. Hull heels as she carves away from the approaching warship. But Lhasa adjusts course again. Not aggressive maneuvering, just persistent tracking. Music. Like a larger predator reminding smaller prey who controls these waters. 700 water AD separate them, then 600. Stratton music continues her evasive turn, trying to open the distance. The Type 055 finally steadies on a parallel course. Not closing anymore, not backing off, just maintaining position. Close enough to dominate, far enough music to avoid actual collision risk. The P-1's cameras capture everything. The pursuit, the near approach, the American vessel music, maneuvering to maintain safe separation. For 3 minutes, both ships run parallel. Hull 102 music matches Stratton's. Every course change, shadowboxing on open ocean. Then Losses music engines throttle back. The destroyer breaks away, carving a wide turn that throws spray across both vessels. The wake hits Stratton at an angle, not the broadside wall of water from a direct crossing, but enough to make the cutter roll. Gear shifts. Crew grabs rails. The vessel takes the wave, stabilizes. Lhasa doesn't continue toward Chinese waters, doesn't radio, doesn't signal distress, music, or acknowledgement, or apology. The Type 055 circles back, music, settling into position directly over the severed cable route. 0543, music, AM. The destroyer sits idle over the cut like claiming territory. No repair ship inbound, just presence, just hull 102 holding position above, music 180 FT of damaged fiber optic line. Stratton maintains station 1 mile out. P1 continues overhead vigil. Nobody moves. At 600 music hours, U.S. Pacific Fleet releases a statement. Critical undersea. Cable infrastructure damaged. Investigating cause. Communications restored via music emergency satellite backup. Estimated restoration timeline 48 hours for full network capacity. 28 words that don't mention the warship, don't mention the anchor drag, don't mention the standoff. By 0700 hours, a second Chinese warship appears on the horizon. Type 052D destroyer from South China Sea Fleet. The two vessels establish a pattern, circling the damaged site in opposite directions, blocking any approach vector for repair ships. January 25th, 2026, music hour 24 of blackout. Satellite systems running at 60% capacity. Weather over Guam degrades signal further. Encrypted military channels experience intermittent dropouts. 3 allied nations operating on degraded communications while Chinese warships guard the cut. January 26, 2026. Hour 48 of blackout. Satellite backup finally reaches full capacity, but specialists note the vulnerability. No. Redundancy, no encryption layers. Music, 1 solar flare, 1 system failure, and the backup dies too. January 27, 2027, 72 hours after the cut. 4 Chinese warships now rotating over the site. The U.S. Navy salvage ship Safeguard arrives with repair equipment. Fiber optic specialists, underwater ROVs, but foreign military vessels occupy the zone. The work can't begin. Container ships pass within sight, continuing commercial traffic like nothing's wrong. But military planners see the demonstration clearly. Undersea infrastructure is vulnerable. Cable routes are known. Access is difficult to defend. January 30th, 2026, the Japanese government files formal protest. Losses crew of 26 sailors finally receives invitations ashore for technical consultation about the incident. They disembark in Okinawa. Interviews begin. Fiber optic specialists release their damage assessment. $127 million repair cost. 6 to 8 weeks for full restoration. The anchor dragged for exactly 420 minutes. The ROV footage shows straight track marks through sediment, too precise for drift, too music, deliberate for accident. That same day, a third Chinese destroyer appears even as detained sailors undergo questioning. The pattern expands. More music vessels, more presence, more demonstration of capability. Other undersea cables in the region, hundreds of them linking military bases, commercial hubs, data centers, suddenly feel less secure. Every fiber route now a music potential target. Every emergency stop now suspect. Every anchor a possible weapon. The replacement crew boards Lhasa on January 31st. The destroyer's engines come alive once more. Not heading to port, but music northwest toward the Taiwan Strait, where 3 more critical cable junctions connect Asia to the